Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode numero uno for the Focus Forward podcast. So we just got me and Logan today.
Yeah.
We, well, in all transparency, episode 1 went off without a hitch on the first 2 takes. And we had a little bit of technical difficulty. Our audio did not work for some reason. And it actually ended up being a very simple reason.
Yeah, we figured out. One of the jacks in the back wasn't in all the way. It was like an eighth of an inch out.
Yeah.
We were watching the playback. We're like, oh, that was good. Let's watch the playback. Just straight.
Yeah, just a good hum.
And I grabbed that back jack and I was like, dude, what the hell? And I pushed on the one and went, pop. And so here we are, reshooting episode 1.
Yeah.
Whole different topic than the last 2 times because just for fluidity.
Well, kind of different. We're going to cover just
same
a
stuff.
singular.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is the problem. We weren't giving it enough time in the first one anyway.
No.
Because I can really talk about this topic.
Yeah. We're going to dive in. Before we do, I want to give a shout out. Thank you to Cookwater. They are our sponsor for episode 1. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, everybody. Our sponsor for this video is Cookwater. Cookwater is a locally owned and operated company here in Alaska. They're based out of the Anchorage area, and they resource all of their water out of the Eklutna runoff, as well as the Anchorage district area. They operate with 100% recyclable aluminum for their cans. They're a huge contributor to the local community here and donate thousands of gallons of water a year to rural Alaskans in need. So go give them a look. Check them out on their socials. You can find them on Instagram or at cookwater.com. Cookwater, water with a purpose. But shout out to them for sponsoring us on today's pod. A little bit of fresh, clean Alaska water.
I will also say in the past 36 hours, we've probably crushed a whole 24 pack.
Yeah, we took a
We're
full
down
flight
to like the last 1 or 2.
Yeah, so we'll restock on those for sure, but thank you to them. We're going to dive in. So we're going to do a 2025 recap. That's what the original episode 1 thought process was. We did go through it all. We touched on a couple different parts of kind of things we learned from different things last year on different seasons. Logan being myself and him as the 2 involved with bears and Spring Bear. We're going to cover that in this one. We got Vinny Vaughn and Brett out. They had other engagements, so taking another hour out of their day was not going to happen today, but that's okay. We'll dive into the other stuff on another one. There's plenty of time to do some more pods, but we're going to jump into Spring Bear from last year. Kind of just things that we learned, good, bad, and different. And then kind of the difference between bear baiting and then spot and stock bear, because we had the chance to do both between the 2 of us with dabbling in learning different things. Not so much on the spot and stock side.
No.
That's kind of a skill we both have, but
We've done it a lot in other facets
Yeah.
and other animals, but bears not so much. Like that bear, obviously you got a lot more chances at it, or took a lot more chances at spot and stalking bears this year than me. I think I only went out and glassed once for spot and stalking bears.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, man. Like, spot and stock up here is definitely doable. Plenty of guys have success doing it. I will say, I think spot and stock is way more common in brown and grizz than black bear here. Just from like my personal experience.
I would agree with that. Even just watching YouTube, like no one spot and stalking black bear.
Not like
a lot
lower,
of grizzlies.
Yeah,
A lot of grizzlies.
not like lower 40. I mean, like I'm a big fan of the Gritty channel.
Yep.
Brian Call and Ryan Lampers are always out doing spring bear, and they do a lot, if not all, spot and stock.
Yeah.
I think they have done bait videos before, but then like on the flip side, you have Cam. Cam does a ton of Alberta black bear over bait, and he's killed some monsters. So there's definitely a facet to both of them, but we have not done as much stock and spot and stock.
You know what's funny?
What?
You just said Gritty. Did you also say Ryan?
Yeah,
Yeah, poor dude.
I know.
You see everything's
Oh yeah.
dude, it just gets better. And I'm like, Brian did a good job distancing himself from Ryan and like separating himself. But even when I listen back to Brian's thing, this is months ago when I was mowing the grass or something. And he's like, dude, I haven't hunted with that guy in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Just all their stuff for a long time was directly together.
Yeah. And I'm talking historically. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into the politics
I
of
know
their
what you're
stuff.
saying, yeah.
But they've had success in both facets. So I think
same with the Muley Freak guys.
Yeah.
They're big Bears guys. And,
yeah,
all those dudes. Hush, Born and Raised. They all do
Yeah.
bears, but no one's doing it like Brian.
yeah, for
Brian-
sure.
The way Brian hunts bears, really appealing and
Yeah,
very interesting because all his stuff is like very deep, rugged terrain.
yeah, it's like super rugged, high alpine in there.
Yeah, and for a long time there, it seemed like, I think it was one of their strategies. They were always crossing water.
Yeah.
In those pack rafts.
Yeah,
Right?
they have
Pack rafts and
alpacas, and the
Or
alpaca
alpacas.
rafts, and dude, like theirs are no joke. Like his hunts on some of those videos, they're getting up super high on one side, glassing across a draw and a drainage, diving down. I mean, they're dropping, 5 to 1,000 vertical feet to then go over water up the other side
Yeah.
and track that bear back down.
Yeah, those guys are doing some crazy stuff with spot and stuff.
Yeah, so
Like, I think those guys are probably like leading the front on that kind of stuff. At least what's being produced right now.
Yeah. But Logan and I did do some bear bait. He had a little bit more of the hand in it. He was gifted / hand me down bear spot.
Yep.
So if you're not familiar with Alaska, it's not like it's black and white law on who gets a spot. It's public land. You go resource find, do your scouting, find, what area you want to be in. But historically with the military population up here and like people that we know come and go, the PCS in and out of people, there's a lot of guys who kind of keep it in the community to say, hey, like here's a spot during my tour in Alaska that I resourced, or I was even handed and said, hey, like I'm trusting you to keep this spot going.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like where Logan started from, the spot that him and I had gone into. He put a lot of time and effort in. And if you're not familiar with the logistics behind bear baiting, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more work. Like growing up, like in Pennsylvania, like we couldn't bait bears. We had a very short bear season. I think it was like, let's see. I think it was only like 3-4 days growing up. And now we have, I think, a week-long archery bear going into like a 4-day rifle season. And you can't bait bears there at all. And I remember like as a kid, like, I wish that'd be so easy. And then like I got up here and like started doing it and supporting a singular bait station. And it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Way more work than I anticipated.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking everything from setting up preseason, right? Like you have the logistics of not only getting stuff in, but prior to that, you have to do a course. You have to have your cert saying that you are recognized as completing the bear baiting course, which gives you all your legal requirements on what you can't do, when you can set up, when you have to tear down, what equipment can be used. Like Lower 48, a big thing down there, especially for whitetail, you can run cellular cameras. You cannot run in any facet a cellular camera in Alaska. You have to physically go in and check SD cards.
Yeah.
And even as, simple of a nuance as that might seem to some, that itself is a lot of work. You have to dedicate the time.
I will say if you could okay, so if you guys don't know, we live in Anchorage. Well, I live in Anchorage, Justin up in Wasilla. But there's not a lot of great baiting opportunities super close to us.
I mean, there's some, but they're pretty well-known areas, so you're going to have competition.
Yeah, and like you were saying, though, when you go through bear baiting course, they give you a whole bunch of rules as far as where baits can be. So you cannot be in 1 mile of a seasonal or permanently inhabited structure.
And for seasonal alone, you can have a dry cabin that has not been, quote-unquote, lived in 20 years.
Well, dude, it could even be a campsite. Hey, there's a fire ring here, campsite. It's established. You have to be 1 mile from that.
Yeah.
So if you're looking in the greater Anchorage area, that knocks off most of the accessible stuff right off the rip.
Yeah, I'd say 80% easily.
And then I think you have to be on top of that a 1/4 mile off a trail, which is 440 yards. So then you have to be that off the fastest. So you might find an area where you're like, okay, cool. A mile that way, there's a campsite. A mile that way, there's a campsite. Well, now I have to be a 1/4 mile off this trail somehow. And you might be down in the bottom of a basin and you're looking at the mountains on your left and right. You're like, well, that's not going to happen either.
Yeah.
So, and then there's all these rules, certain units, there's different baiting rules. If you go down let's use the peninsula south of us for an example. Like if you go down there, you can't bait with fish or anything like that. So like, but if you're up north, you can throw a fish out. So if I like cut up a bunch of carcasses, salmon carcasses, take them, I can put them in my barrel. Like,
Yep.
one, it's going to smell like crap. The bears are going to want to hit it, stuff like that. So there's just a lot of nuances when it comes to regulations, when it comes to baiting.
Yeah, and that you're looking at like that's your preseason. That's getting yourself in a position where you have legal requirements, the knowledge, the certification saying you can bait, registering as a bait station, right? And then you start looking at like, okay, what does this winter look like? When am I going to go in and set up? When can I go set up? Because like last year, Logan going in, I'll let him tell you about it. There's factors in that it can be a pain in the ass.
Oh, huge pain. Like last year, so let me put a little background to it. I got here like March 30th. I drove up from Colorado. I checked into the unit like the 2nd. And then, you know, I had to do a little stuff at work. And then I came over, met Justin at the kennels. And literally right off the rip, I'm like, hey, who hunts here? And they all pointed at Justin. And I talked to Justin. I'm like, hey, I need to know like everything you know about bear baiting. And it was just kind of me being naive, assuming everyone in the state baited bears who hunted. I just assumed like most people would. Justin's like, I don't bait bears. I only spot and stalk, blah, 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 with a bow. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to be any help. So I was like, let me start watching YouTube. I started reaching out to people I know. One of my good friends who I used to be stationed with back in the day, he was still up here. And I started talking to him about it. And he's like, yeah, bait season opens April 15th. Well, I was on house hunting, so I had like 2 weeks off to like find a place to live and stuff. And, you know, I was kind of doing that, but more so I was looking for bears and like where I was going to put barrels. So I'd gotten a tip from one of my buddies who used to live up here, and Nate. Surprisingly, they hunted the same site unbeknownst to each other through the connection of someone else. And so I showed Nate, I'm like, hey, I got a spot down here. One of my buddies gave it to me. He's like, how do you know where I hunt bears? I'm like, he's like, did I put that on your Onyx? I was like, no. He's like, okay, weird. So we ended up tracking that backwards and figuring out how we both like ended up hunting the same spot pretty much. But I was up there looking, and this is just because I'm new to Alaska, so I had no idea. But I'm up there like April 10th in that area looking around. And I'm like, well, there's this canyon, There's no like posted sites on Onyx. And I hike back in there. And it's April 10th, and I'm in thigh-deep snow.
Yeah.
Like back in the bottom of this drainage. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. No way I'm getting a freaking barrel in here anytime soon. So April 15th rolls around. I don't even know if I had technically come back to work yet. But April 16th, the one day after season opens, I say, screw it. I got to get my barrel in. Not really knowing how other people hunt in this state, being so new, like I was like, I got to get it in the 16th. If I don't get it in the 16th, or like right at opening, like all the bears are going to find different barrels and no one's going to hit my barrel and blah, 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 blah. So I one day drove down there. It was like midday, and I didn't want to make 2 trips because the spot that we have for spring bear, the singular spot we currently have, is like 2.5 to 2 3/4 miles like in. So I was like, all right, screw it. So I strapped a 55-gallon drum to a mystery ranch with ratchet straps and stuff. And then I took a 50-pound bag of dog food, put it in there. Then I put a trail camera in there. Then I put a climbing stick in there. Then I think I had a bottle of syrup in there and a bunch of other stuff like that. And I was just like, all right, screw it. It is what it is. And it was the worst ruck of my life. I was stopping like every 100 yards, finding a tree to rest apart because it was heavy, dude. I'm thinking that was probably close to 100-pound ruck. And the problem is a 55-gallon drum sticks 2.5 feet straight off your back.
And probably another 2.5 over your head.
Yeah. And I had a freaking chain in there to chain it. So it was probably close to 100-pound ruck. It's super unstable. It's like 2.5 foot wide, 2.5 foot deep. And like you can't get the weight close to your back. So anyway, I get up in there, and of course, you know, there was snow 6 days earlier. So why wouldn't there be snow? So I'm walking up there, and all of a sudden I'm walking across like a swampy area. I didn't know it was really swamp. I just thought it was like a clear cut. All of a sudden I go all the way up to my hip in a hole, and my boot gets wet. And I have no option other than to roll over like bailout drill. just roll over, and I'm laying on my back, unclipping out of this freaking ruck, and I'm like within 200 yards of where I want to throw this barrel. So I was like, F that backpack. And I like just go and figure out, because this is my first time ever putting eyes on the site.
Yeah.
So I end up walking in there, and I'm like, oh, man, this looks pretty cool right here, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm going to pick that tree, because there were some like big down trees right there. You know what I'm talking about, like right on the backside of the down, or the
hanging
ground
tree.
barrel.
Yeah.
You know the ground barrel?
Yeah,
like where there was that tree there. So I end up going back. I throw it in there, and unbeknownst to me, I don't know anything about baiting bears. I just assumed that if I put dog food out in the woods in a barrel that's clean and then dump syrup on it, like the bears are going to find it. Like, I don't know. They say bears have great noses. Well, like I said, I don't know anything. So I come back in there a week later with Nate. No bears on camera. I'm like, damn. So we throw out a bunch of marshmallows. Nate's like, you got to put marshmallows all over the floor. They'll find it, and like backtrack. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good to me. Anyway, I get in there, pitch it out, get out of there. Nate comes in the next weekend. We throw marshmallows, and he's like, this will get them. They'll backtrack the marshmallows to the bait site. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know more than me. I don't know anything about hunting bears. So we come back in there the next week, and Nate and I like go in, check the camera. No bears. I think we originally sat in the trees for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I texted Nate. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? These bears haven't found it. It's been 3 weeks or something at this point. I'm like, what's the chance they randomly decide to show up for the first time ever tonight? So we're like, let's get out of here. So we went back, and when I was researching like bear hunting, people were saying like, oh, hang these, hang that. Like, you need attractants. I'm like, seemed like a gimmick. I should have known better. I'd never bear hunted before. I should have been all in on every gimmick. So I go buy a scent ball, 907 Batum. Those guys make great stuff. I went down to Full Curl. That was the first time I met Dave, actually, I think. That might have been the first time I'd ever gone to the archery shop. And they had 907 in the back, and I bought a bait ball, I think. That might not be the official term of them, but whatever. But it's a scent ball that basically is in this like cotton sock, and you like hang them. And I hung this thing up, and we made this like triangular rope system and put it right about 13 foot up above the bait site. And we're like, well, hopefully this works. So now we're going into like a month into bait season. So we're coming into like May 15th.
Yeah.
I think is where we're at. So we're technically like getting close to halfway through season at this point. And finally, Nate and I come back in there, and I check the camera, and I have 900 photos. And I'm like, what the hell? And I started clipping through them, and I think it took 3 days from when we hung that anise ball, and then we started getting grizzlies.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I think they hit the first one. I think we put it on a Saturday. First bear showed up on like a Wednesday, and we were back in there on a Saturday. And I had 900 photos in 4 days of grizzlies.
And that's what's crazy is like it can just click
like a
and
light
boom.
switch.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the gimmicks, right? It's hard to say because you literally could be in a good area and have everything right, and maybe that's not the case. Or maybe,
I just assumed it was like, oh, you should buy my bait ball.
Yeah.
You know
well, and for clarification, it's not that at that time I didn't know anything about bear baiting. I had hunted overbait a good handful of times with other guys at their sites, and I had knowledge of it, but I didn't have enough that I wanted to like send Logan off on a path with like my somewhat minimalistic understanding of good, bad, or indifferent techniques. Not to mention, like, I didn't know exactly where he was going at that time. Like, it was pretty early in the bromance, so I didn't want to give him bad info and then like burn bridges saying like, oh, this is what you should absolutely do, because that's not been a primary means of a style for me in the past.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that you didn't know anything about it. I mean, you just said you didn't do it.
I didn't know enough to really be comfortable saying like, oh, dude, let me give you the hookup, as opposed to other guys who have had time out there
and shot bears, and like that bait spot that we have down south. Like, there's been like a Boone and Crockett grizz shot off that site like 5 years ago. One of the guys that we know shot a Boone and Crockett grizzly out of there. So luckily we have some people to rely on who have vast experience there, and we learned a lot this season.
Yeah.
And like I said, like once we put that anise ball out there, within the first 4 or 5 days, we established we had 4 or 5 different grizzlies in the area that were hitting it regularly. And I think out of those like 900 1,000 photos, we had 5 photos of black bears. So it was super grizzly heavy and like almost no black bears. And being I wasn't a resident. I was like new to the state. So technically I wasn't even a resident yet. And I couldn't hunt grizzlies, so all I could hunt was black bears. So it was kind of like, well, now I got to drag Nate because he's the only resident.
Yeah. You got to make the most of what's coming in.
Yeah, and like I'd be like, bro, we got to go. Like they're regular. So that happens. We're going, I think we're probably, after that went out and we did that first camera card, I would say the next week or so, probably 3rd week of May, we have the first experience where we're sitting in the stand. We have some grizzlies come in, and I'm sitting in a saddle. Like, if we're kind of like this, I'm actually facing the tree like this. Justin's off to my right. He's probably like 6-7 feet further back, but we can see each other out of the corners of our eye. Bait barrel's over here to my left, and I'm sitting here hanging out, and I got an ear pod in, and I'm like listening to something, and all of a sudden I hear something really loud in my left ear crack, and I just like pause whatever. I'm probably listening to like Rogan or something. I pause what I'm listening to, and I hear something crazy going on behind me, and I just real slowly like turn around over my shoulder, and I see nothing, and then I hear something pop over my right shoulder, and I very slowly turn to my right. And then right over my right shoulder, about 12 foot off the base of my tree, there's this really, really blonde, beautiful grizzly. I'll send you the photos. You can put it in here. But she was just like raggedy looking, and she looked like something that was literally photoshopped into the environment because she did not belong.
Yeah.
Like she didn't match anything in the environment.
Color phases off.
Yeah, like she was a really light color phase, and I'm 95% sure she was a sow. So I'm looking at her, and I'm looking at Nate looking at her with his 45-70 on her lap, and I'm like, is this guy going to shoot this damn bear? And all of a sudden I hear a pop over my left shoulder now because I'm looking over my right, and I slowly turn around, and there's this monster boar walking like right at us. Like he's probably 9 foot off the base, 10 foot off the base of Nate's tree. He must have came in with her
and split,
circled us, and he kept going down and around when she fish hooked.
Yeah.
Because then he came straight in at us, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I start filming this bear, and he goes in, comes around, hits the bait, and he's like wolfing. I don't know. What would you call that? Like, whew.
Yeah, kind of like
almost like a wolf.
Kind of barking at you.
He's barking
bit.
at us. That's a good way to put it. He's barking. Like he can tell we're there. They can definitely smell us because we got one bear on the one side of us and this grizzly's out in front of us, and he can tell we're there. And he comes in, does a little show of force thing, and Nate ends up shooting him, and he hit him really high, like above the vitals. If you've like hunted a lot of whitetails, you know what the triangle is, like the no man's zone triangle, and it's like above the vitals but below the spine. So you're not high enough to spine him, but you're not low enough to hit any vitals. He hit him like right in that.
Which is, for people who have never hunted bears, like it is not uncommon by any stretch for bad shot placement on bears, especially long hair grizz.
Yeah.
Because of that hair and the pattern of the body line. If you've ever hunted like boar's another really good example. The vitals on a bear are much tighter than a lot of people assume because they're pretty large bodied animals. Mm-hmm. But the way that the hairline and how low it looks like their body line is, that a lot of the time causes people to aim in a different spot than what your true vital shot might be. So, you know, it's not a dig on Nate or anybody else out there who's bear hunted, because it is definitely like a learned skill to know where on that animal you want, let alone you're in a tree stand.
Yeah,
like you have a different angle and aspect of how you're seeing that shape.
Mm-hmm. And I've even heard, like, it might have been actually Brian Call, that said that he was saying, like, it's almost to hit him more vitally, like, you might as well shoot almost mid-body.
Yeah.
Like, what's the rule of them? An eighth or a quarter forward between the legs. So if you split the legs, between the legs, split it directly in half, and then a third of that front forward.
Yeah.
So almost more towards mid-mass. That I forget who was saying that. Some video I watched forever ago. But bears, like the way their vitals set up in there, it's a little bit different than a whitetail where you're trying to hug that shoulder. You'd be a little bit better off setting it slightly back a bit when you're taking a shot on them. But yeah, Nate shot that bear and it balled up right there. And we were both thinking it was dying because it was making some awful noises. And all of a sudden that bear stepped back, like jumped back up. And I was waiting and I was like, well, shoot it again. Like, at that point, like, we just let a bullet rip. He wasn't going to get up and just stand there. So I was like, shoot him again. And then he shot right over him. That bear tore off. We came in the next day because it was like right before dark. And we tracked. Well, we didn't have blood for like 200 yards or something. And then I just happened to cut a track. No blood, just cut a track. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is it. And then we ended up getting down in some, not willows. What's that shit?
Alders.
Yeah. Down in some alder thicket, and like we had some blood, and we followed it in there like 200, maybe 300 yards. And at that point, we were close to like probably close to 600 to 700 yards from where he initially shot that bear. And then it came out of this alder thicket, and we ran out of blood, couldn't find nothing, started doing circles, big circles, and we just never found this bear.
Which pretty solid indication that bear is just fine.
Yeah, well, we went back and looked at the video, and I remember looking at him and be like, you can actually see, and I'm like, Nate, you hit him really high.
Yeah.
So what actually happened is Nate shot, and that initial shock wave probably temporarily, like, almost like paralyzed him for a
Just
second.
stunned him enough it dropped.
Stunned him.
Rolled him.
He dropped, couldn't figure out what was going on. Then it like got his wits back, and he just stood right up. He was fine. He just poof, took
And
off.
Bears are freaking tough, dude, because that was one of 2 bears last year that I had. Well, I wasn't there for that, but I saw your video of it. But that's one of 2 bears I know of, and the other one I was present for, who dropped like a sack of potatoes, popped up, and was gone.
Yeah.
Like, that bear was fine. I mean, granted, it's going to have a hole. It's going to be a little pissed off.
Yeah.
But 90% chance that bear ended up being fine. Like in the other one was a black bear. Same thing though. A little bit high shot placement, dropped him like a sack of potatoes. Bear got up and with minimal blood to be seen anywhere. And we tracked that black bear we tracked, and yeah, we came across a little bit of blood, but not enough that you're gonna be like, oh, this dude is done.
Yeah, he tore off.
Yeah, he tore off.
Well, that's what I was thinking, and that's why I told Nate. Like, we came back in there. Oh, let's see. It was a week later or 2 weeks later. We went back the next weekend, nothing, and then 2 weeks later. So I think we're looking at the last week of May, right before we got into June. At this point, we went back in there, and it happened again. We had 2 grizzlies come in, except they came in from the opposite direction this time, and we had a nice 2 bears. I'm pretty sure the one was a sow, the one he shot at. Nice color phase, but not the same color phase sow that he had already shot at. This one looked more like a teddy bear. She just had like curly hair. And same thing. Well, not the same thing. He shot right over this bear 3 times, and the bear tore off. And I'm talking like 18 yards.
Yeah.
So I told Nate, I was like, don't you ever bring that 45-70 back here again.
Which,
I
mean,
was like, you better go home and get a different gun.
Come to find out, give him a little bit of a break in the field there.
I'm about to give him a little, do justice. So I told him don't ever bring that gun back. So the next day we decide we're going to throw a pick on it, and then we go and get a red dot for this 45-70. Well, the next day, I think it was a long weekend or something like that. But we're like, we're going to go back in. So we go back in. We're like shooting right before, a couple miles out. We're like, hey, let's just throw a quick 0 on this red dot, like 20-yard 0. So he lays down on the ground. I hang a piece of paper, and I'm standing over him, and he takes a shot. And I'm looking at it in the binos. I'm like, all right, you were far left, like not even on the tree. He's like, okay. He's adjusting his thing, and I'm looking down at the rifle, and I'm like, Nate, what's going on? There's something wrong with your rifle. And I'm like looking at it, and I reach down, and I grab that rear leaf. Like I touch it, and it just falls off the gun. And I'm like, what the hell? And I pick it up, and I'm looking at his rear leaf sight. I'm like, no wonder you can't hit shit. Your damn rear leaf sights just fell off your gun. He was probably shooting 4 foot left, if I had to guess, based off how that sight moved. If I had to guess how that sight moved, he was probably shooting like 4 foot left when he missed that other grizzly the second time. So I was like, all right. We got a 0 on his red dot. Unfortunately, Nate never got another shot that season. Like, we didn't have much going on after that. And then I think we were getting down to, like, the last weekend. I can't remember if it was June 15th or June 30th. I can't remember. I think it was June 30th.
I don't know if I still have. I wonder if I can find it while you go on here.
I think it was the 30th, but I told Nate, I'm like, hey, man, also at this time, right then at the beginning of June is when we saw the huge transition from the Grizzlies started drying up in that area and the black bears started to come into bloom, basically.
Which is very common. If you haven't seen or been around or done bear stuff before, you're not going to find grizzlies and black bears banging around on the same barrel.
Yeah,
like they don't hang out in the same country if they can help it. There's areas that I've been in up here where one year you'll have a plethora of black bears. Like you'll find them roaming about, right? They like being in a lot of the, like almost like the chutes, the avalanche cuts and chutes and some of those gravel chutes that you find. And you might go back the next year and grizzly kind of poof, boom, they're in the area, poof, like they just show up.
That's exactly what happened. I think like all the higher like snowpacks kind of melted off when we got there into June, and like those grizzlies really spread out, and those black bears felt comfortable coming into that bait site. So we had a big transition where the grizzlies kind of moved out, and then I was getting hundreds of photos of black bears coming in and playing. And
I got some good pictures and videos from you on June 25 of black bears. The first, so
that's probably the day we were sitting in the tree together.
Nate's shot was the 22nd of June. That video, because that's that you sent me that video of him sitting up there.
Oh no, this is Stumpy.
Oh, this was Stumpy. Never mind.
That's
so
Stumpy.
yeah. So probably June 15, 14,
yeah, that's
15-ish.
probably the week before. So anyway, the Grizzlies really dumped off coming into June, and the Black Bears picked up. And for me, that was exciting because like now I was starting to get some targets of opportunity, and I had 2 black bear encounters, technically 3, but I didn't see the one. Nate had seen a black bear like moving through the brush off to our right, but he wasn't coming in the barrel. But we had one that had come down and fish hooked into the barrel, and it's just unfortunate timing, but we had a squirrel in the hanging barrel.
I hate them.
I know. We had a squirrel hanging out in the barrel, the hanging barrel, and unfortunately the latch, so it was an old ground barrel, and the latch had broken off the top, or it had gotten warped. You couldn't lock it anymore. So the squirrels used to climb down in there and steal some of the food and Rice Krispie treats I had made down in there. And it just so happened as this black bear entered the bait area, this squirrel had launched itself off the barrel, which is about 7 foot high, and hit the ground. And they both looked at each other, and the squirrel like screamed, and both turned opposite directions and sprinted away from each other. And that black bear never came back.
It was done.
Yep, that was it. So he was at like 20-ish, 25-ish yards moving in, and I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. First time I'm picking the bow up all season, just off the hook, and didn't work out. And, yeah, so that's like the first black bear encounter, and then the one we were just talking about, Stumpy. So we had this black bear come in. He came in the same way as that last one, like way out in front of us and kind of fish hooked in. But like I said, like when we're in the tree setup, I'm facing this way because I'm in a saddle, and Nate's over here in a stand like behind where Justin's sitting right now. And this black bear comes in and he's hooking, and he's like on a path to split Nate and I in half. And I'm like, oh, damn, he's limping pretty bad. I'm like, I'm going to shoot this bear. So I get my bow off the thing, I like lean around the tree. There's this one dead pine in between us, all these limbs coming off, but no needles. And I see him, he gets right behind that, and I draw. And I think I just drew a little too fast, or he happened to be looking up when he did it, and he just stopped. And he just kind of turned around and went right back down out and did this big fish hook.
And he stayed in the only area you could not take a shot, because that was all that same tree. When I looked sitting in my stand, was the one tree off to that direction that has too many limbs for bow hunting to get through.
Oh, it's a ton of limbs.
Yeah.
So there was no way I could shoot him like in place, but yeah, that was pretty much it. And then coming into the end of season, like Justin was saying earlier, that spot's kind of been handed down. So there, unfortunately, at the time, it was kind of tainted as far as like politically, like how many people had like claim to the spot, and like there was some animosity between some of the people that previously had hunted it and whatnot, and like the barrel we actually set up is like within 200 yards of the old spot that some of my buddies had hunted. I didn't have my Onyx the day I dropped that barrel, so I wasn't 100% sure on the exact location, but we were sitting there, and literally it's like 200 yards from the old spot. Well, the old people who had it after my buddy had left weren't the best stewards.
Yeah.
So they had left a barrel in there. They had left some trail cameras. They had left some like tree stands in place, which I think Nate actually ended up buying the one tree stand off the dude, which is this tree stand that you sat in. We had moved it. But they had just left a lot of crap in there, and they're like, well, this is marsh ball. I'm like, well, you didn't register it with the state last year, and you didn't register it with the state this year, and you haven't baited it this year or anything.
Nor did you, like, properly take the site apart.
Yeah, you never took the site apart or anything like that.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of, like, well, he said, she said, and luckily now we're at a point where, like, all those people have moved on. No one's here anymore. The only people who know or hunt the spot is us now. So I waited till the last week of season, and then I was like, Justin, you want to go in there? Because I asked Nate, I'm like, hey, you care if I take Justin? He's like, nah, go ahead. I've already screwed up 2 grizzlies this year. So I was like, all right, cool. So we went in. We hunted late.
Yeah.
That was the day we almost died. But we hunted late. Nothing came in, and yeah, I mean, the most eventful thing was we almost clocked a moose at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, so he says we almost died. Not to
Seward.
skip past it, like, oh, a bear came after us, because that was far from the case. We actually didn't see a single bear come in that night.
No.
We about died bear hunting because of a moose on the highway.
Yeah. Well, that's like, so that's the thing most people don't realize. Like, they talk about the sunlight in Alaska and everything like that, but like, until you live here and like do activities that go through the night. So like, we would get done. We'd climb down around out of the tree stand around like 11:30. We could probably, if we hustled, it takes like 30 to 40 minutes to get back to the car.
Yeah.
And it's all downhill pretty much except the last couple of yards, like 200, 300 yards. So we get back, and then we have like a 2.5 hour drive home. For Justin, it's like a 4-hour drive home, it feels like. But he has like a really long drive home to get back to Wasilla. Well, I start driving, and it's probably like 12:30, almost 1 in the morning. And we're cooking. So now it's like actually dark.
Yeah, it finally was like oh,
we
this
finally
is
hit
dark.
the dark hour.
Yeah.
And like it's only dark for like 2.5, 3 hours, and then it starts getting gray light again. So we're driving in the darkest part of the night. We're in a tiny 2001 Ford Focus hatchback. It's yellow. It's a taxi. But moose don't have the reflective property in their eyes that like almost all other animals, like cats have, deer have.
Yeah, they're the only one in the deer species or the family for deer who do not have the reflective membrane in the back of their eye.
Yeah, so we're driving, and Justin's like half asleep. I'm have music cranking. I'm slamming like a energy drink. Just talking about. I'm getting so excited for bear season. Like this is just like one of those things that we were doing all the time. So I'm driving. I'm like half awake. Justin's like partially asleep, and all of a sudden I'm just going, and like from probably 20 feet, I go, moose, and I just slam the wheel to the left, and the car breaks loose, and we like go around it, and Justin just wakes up and he's like, ah, throws himself to the right. But if I would have been looking at the radio or something like that, I don't know, we probably wouldn't have made it.
That would have at least been a wrap on me, 100%.
Yeah.
Like
You might have been paralyzed.
she ended up directly in line to the passenger side. Yeah, that was a pucker factor 10 for sure.
Probably like the scariest thing about driving at night here is the moose, because like
you
cannot see them. And what's crazy is we do this whole maneuver around her, and we're shitting our pants, and we're driving away, and I look in the tail light, she's not even phased.
No, and you could barely even see her, even after the fact.
I could just see her legs because there was another truck coming behind us, so I could just see the bottom third of her body and her legs, and she's just walking like nothing even happened.
Oh, yeah.
And what's crazy is I had gone down there a couple days later to pull the barrel, and coming home that night, same area. Moose standing off the side of the road just grazing.
Yep.
Just chilling. But yeah, so that was pretty much our entire baiting season. Now, like some of the things we learned that were very beneficial that we took into the fall and we're going to take into the spring. One, immediately hang some type of attractant.
Yeah.
So either we get 907 Batum balls, there's a couple other companies that make them, or we get a beaver, hang a beaver, or something like that. Or if you're in a unit that you can have fish, what are those, herrings? Not herrings.
Yeah,
What's that stupid fish that runs early
You can.
that all the natives
Like you're talking about dip netting them.
Yeah, what is that?
Oh,
Not gill netting, dip netting.
hooligan. Yep.
If you are in a unit where you can put fish out, if you go down south here to 20 Mile and dip net hooligan, I don't think there's a limit.
Not to my knowledge.
Like that. You just have to be a resident. If I needed some attractant, I'd go down there, dip net for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, get 5-gallon buckets, dump them in my barrel, but only if the unit you're in allows you to have fish. And if you're down on the peninsula, you can't have fish in your barrels. But that would work. Beavers, hanging attractant, or like fish.
But there's also like, we talked about it in our first take, and then, through learning things, the way you go about using those and the bait itself or your bait station itself. So like hanging the attractant, it gets a lot of odor out. It's at a level where you want it high enough, you're going to get a good breeze, you're going to get wind to help you out. But like triangulating some cordage and hanging it up, the big part of like why that's a good important step and not just hanging it off a limb. Black bears will climb. They're pretty freaking good at it. There's tons of videos out of different guys, baiting and having stations where they, like Canadian bait stations and videos of guys out there who have year round. They can set them up. They have leases and land that they do it, and they'll do like wire and have permanent triangulated
like
wire.
Cable.
Yeah, cables and stuff. Yeah. And black bears have crawled across them. So like having that up there, that's kind of the reason why you want that up and in a good spot where, the chance of a black bear getting it is still there, but it's mainly to be like, hey, we want this attractant to keep them interested, but not just get torn down. So like that's a big step. Hanging the barrel was a big step because then on the other side,
that was a big one to learn because like we had one, I call them ground barrels, but you just a barrel bolted or not bolted, but like chained around a tree. So we had one that was on the ground. It was a I call it a horizontal barrel because I had it chained so it would lay on the ground. And the idea was that they could bat it around on the ground. And I had holes at the bottom. Well, originally I had a hole in the top like the size of a baseball because I'm like, they won't be able to get their hand. They just ripped the lid off. So either weld your lids on or change the size of the hole. So what I went to then is a solid top, and I was just letting them kick the dog food at the bottom where the chain went through the barrel when they rolled it. Well, that worked for a while, and then we had a bear come in, and he twisted the barrel like a Coke can, and then he gave the barrel CPR, and he touched one side to the other. He was like jumping on it, So they get really aggressive. Surprisingly, I don't think the lid popped off on that actually, but we were already on our second top, so we actually found a barrel laying in the woods from the other guys. And we decided to chain it up on a tree, like hang it. And we noticed that the bears love to come in and just play with it. And because it's hanging like that, they can't really mess it up. They can bat it around the tree, but they are not able to like crush it. And the way that we hang our barrels, they're not able to get up there and rip them down or break it off. We've got this locking mechanism that we use. And so you can see some go up there, but they can't get the barrel down. And what we learned was that even after the food was gone, they would still play with the barrel. And I will say the one thing we tried was I made these big Rice Krispie balls, and then I would throw them in that barrel. So even once they knocked all the dog food out of them and stuff, they would still like have a sweet smell to them when it would rain and stuff. And like the bears loved playing with them. So that alone would bridge the gap between the time they ran out of dog food, emptied the ground barrel, and emptied the hanging barrel. But like we were talking about earlier, another thing we learned was the size of the hole you put in the hanging barrel will dictate how long it takes them to get the stuff out. So that barrel that we had hanging, we were using like $50 size holes, and they were just way too big. The bears should come in like 2 hours, get all the stuff out of it.
Yeah, I mean, even the smallest bit of movement, it's like sand through a sieve. It just trickles right out.
It was too fast.
Yeah.
So going into the fall, we're taking the scent stuff, the hanging barrel stuff, and resizing the holes. So we went down to like quarter size holes, maybe even penny size holes. We hung a brand new metal 55-gallon, 4 holes, on the barrel. Probably next year we'll go to 3. But loaded it full of dog food. And that way they really had to bat it. Because what it forced was by doing that and not having the top open, one, birds couldn't come in and steal the stuff.
Squirrels and birds.
There wasn't a way for a squirrel to hang there and get food out. So we were taking away all of like the nuisance animals that would empty out our bait like we would find in the spring. The issue we ran into in the fall was you cannot get more of those hanging scent balls. Because bear baiting is limited to like 2 or 3 units in the entire state in the fall. Yeah, 2 or 3 units, I'm pretty sure. Since it's so limited, no one's really selling that baiting stuff because very few people bait bears in the fall. And unfortunately, the one bait spot I did have, because I was reusing that scent ball, it took so long for the bears to find it. And the very first time a bear ever found it, they ate my camera within like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lazy and must have touched the camera after touching bait because literally the first photo is the bear at the bait. The second photo, bear looking at bait. Third photo, bear like 3 feet, or not looking at bait, looking at camera. Next one, like 3 foot from camera. And then I got like 100 photos of his mouth eating the camera. So when I got in there, the camera was destroyed. I don't know how he didn't mess up the memory card because he had filleted the camera open and chewed up the whole inside on both sides. Batteries were hanging out. Camera was destroyed, but somehow the memory card survived, and it was full of water. So God's plan or something.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much our entire baiting season and the big takeaways we have. Hang odor, hang barrels, small holes. Yeah. Find good habitat.
Cover your camera.
Yeah, don't touch your camera. Use your nitrile gloves for my detection guys out there. Use nitrile gloves. And I would also recommend carrying a stick. Like if you carry a climbing stick, set your cameras 1 stick high and angle them downward. That way your bears are less likely to just come over and play with them. Like if they have to climb a tree in order to engage with your cameras, they're probably not going to do it.
Yeah, probably a better chance. And I mean, they might not really even want to go after it if it's...
Yeah, and your grizzlies can't climb like that.
Yeah, and so like I was saying, like hanging the scent ball, like that helps with black bears being able to be in the area but not just tear your stuff apart. One other thing that we might try is when we put a barrel out this year, before taking it out, I would like to try to do where we have, because we're going to have multiple sets this year. So like one site, if we run a ground.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Each person's allowed 2 sites.
Yeah. So we'll have multiple this year, but like one site, we'll probably stick to the hanging barrel at our traditional like go-to site.
Yeah,
for
we're
now.
still going to have to bait that spot. Even though it's a pain to get in and out, it produces. Yeah.
But then like running a ground barrel, if we decide to, reinforcing it. So you can actually open them bad girls up, and it's very common. Take some rebar and tack weld it in, cross member it up and down inside there. So that way, having it down on the ground, you might get a big, boar who comes in and wants to tear it up. But that kind of prevents that crushing
effect. It can't crush it, or it can't collapse on itself.
Yeah.
A lot of people weld the lids on too.
Yep.
That's pretty common if you're going to have like a standardized like paw size hole on the side of the barrel or even on the lid. You weld the lid on. That way nothing can rip it off.
That, and then like the process of actually putting bait in, there is some thought behind it that you want to keep in mind. So like Logan found out the hard way. If you're going to use any syrups or sticky, goo, any attractants, any stuff like that, you got to be very cognizant of, if you're going to put it in there on top of your dog food, cat food, whatever you find to work best for your site, you don't want it to be directly inside that barrel, because if you get too much of it in there, it starts raining, whatever the case may be, that is just going to turn into concrete. Bears aren't going to be able to get it out. You might just piss them off and they just quit coming because it's not producing a reward to them to come back and try to get food. But you're going to create a hell of a mess for yourself to try to get that thing out of there and break it apart. I mean, he had to basically jump on his barrel to get that knocked out.
Yeah, the wife was with me. I had the barrel still hanging in the tree. I had the lid off, and I couldn't get the stuff to fall out. So I was standing in the barrel, 5 foot in the tree, and my wife's like, if you break your damn neck or something, she's like, I can't drag you out of here. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, we'll be fine. I have faith in my rig. And like Justin's saying, don't put syrups in there, but if you want to put like sweets in your barrel, go ahead. If you want to put kettle corn, a lot of people put like corn, or not popcorn, like popcorn and stuff like that in their things. If you want to put like M&Ms, you can get away with that. But I would stick, like Justin was saying, stay away from like honey in your barrel, molasses, syrups.
Yeah, you just
Stuff
don't
like
want the
that.
saturation to turn that, those pellets of food and the pebble, the kibble, whatever, to solidify into a mass.
Yeah, and that's
So,
basically what happens.
stick to the outside. Like, if you can come up with a way that's, more effective or efficient than just coating a smooth barrel, whatever you find that's legal, lawful, and you can handle it, then like cool. But yeah, definitely on the outside is kind of a step we're going to take to make sure.
Like we did. So like after, I guess I had never done that in the spring. That was a fall mistake. And then since then, I just layered the outside of the barrel in peanut butter, syrup, all that stuff. But I will say one thing about the anise balls that we noticed, the Grizzlies would try to get it. It was too high, but they would like get up on their hind legs and like sniff it and kind of try to swat at it. But when it would rain, that thing would like seep onto the ground, and they would tear the ground up underneath it where it was really sweet. So if you could somehow make like a molasses ball and like soak a bunch of cotton or something in what's up, Rue?
Guest? What's up, bub? Oh.
Like soak something and that would drip like that or seep like that, it'd be really effective too, probably. Rue, get down. Go.
You're a guest star, Rue. Come say hi. What do you have to say to the people? Okay, thank you.
Rue, go.
Yeah, I mean, little techniques. And that, I mean, a lot of that is just stuff that it's trial by fire. You learn certain things as you go. Granted, we haven't been doing it for 20 plus years.
Dude, we haven't even done it a year yet, technically.
and that's where like
a season.
You might be doing something that you feel is on point, and you could be one microcosm away from like a huge successful station or minimal to no animals coming.
Well, that's exactly what those like attractants did for us.
Yeah.
It would have been a non-productive season. Like I probably would have lost if I hadn't tried hanging in attractants, and just getting it high like that when the wind blows, it carries that odor really far. The only thing I want to touch on before we move on to Justin's spot and stock bear is this isn't a method we've tried yet, but Dave at Full Curl, this is a method he highly recommended for us, and we talked about it earlier. But those bears get so habituated to you coming in, messing with the barrel, because when you're reloading a barrel, it's not quiet.
No.
You're ripping the lids off. There's chains moving, everything like that. I'm dumping dog food. It's just like if you're someone who hunts in like a whitetail state where you can have feeders, or even down in Texas where you see the pigs all the time, the feeder goes off 20 minutes later, the bear's in there. Same kind of thing. They hear you refilling that barrel. Sound travels. Bears have great ears, great smell. But when you go to walk out of there, it almost seemed like every time we checked the cameras, 35 minutes to an hour after we left, there would be a bear on our bait station. So one of the methods Dave had recommended to us that I really want to try this year is walking two dudes in there, putting them in the stand, refilling the bait, and then having a third guy leave and make all sorts of noise as he's leaving. He's like, I promise it will work. So that's a method I'm really excited to try this spring, especially when we start getting a good number of bears coming in. It could really, really increase our chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a running saying that I always tell guys at work with dealing with dogs and working dogs. You're the one with the thumb and the brain. Use it. So like that right there, something as simple as these animals are conditioned. They understand when it's a reliable source of food. Mm-hmm. I hear bang, 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 clink, clink, clink. And then there he goes walking out of the woods. I can listen and maybe even watch him. Mm-hmm. Okay, time to eat. So yeah, like simply tricking them at their own game and seeing how big of a difference that makes, where instead of going in, resetting, and 3-4 hours of sitting to hopefully get one of them to come in versus...
Like maybe one was just out of earshot and he didn't hear us come in, but he didn't hear us leave. He's just coming to hit it naturally. Yep. Yeah, so like...
And I mean, there's other aspects too, like building historical data, right? So when you go in and you're checking cameras, obviously, like any other station or camera or stand, if you're running a camera, are they daylighting? What's their preferred time? Like, when are they eating? How often are they coming through during the day? Because even the data we pulled last year from our site, we had enough to say there's a good 3 or 4 bears coming in generally between the 9:30 and midnight
Yeah, I
time
guess I didn't
frame.
even touch on that. They were regular, like
Yeah.
2 time frames,
And that was
there
like,
was a morning group, and then there was a pretty like steady evening group.
yeah, and that's pulling data from just simply days where no one's in there, and that camera's capturing like movement and kind of schedule and where they're at. So on top of that, seeing what that difference looks like when they do have feed days of resetting a site and putting fresh bait out. Are they coming in, if we did leave, because, hey, it's not a hunt night, we're just refilling, are they coming in 30, 40 minutes after?
And
okay,
I think
cool.
that's kind of the stuff we were seeing, but we had never thought about it in that aspect, like, hey, set a trap for them, because it is an ambush.
Yeah.
What you're doing at that point. You're baiting them and setting the trap, and you're just hoping they walk in. So that's something we're super excited to try this year. But
For sure.
hopping over to the other side of the house.
Yeah, so spot and stalking, obviously, it's a different game, but I mean,
You started hitting it pretty quick, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, as that snow was first melting
Yeah.
off, you were
It's
spotting
kinda taking
every day
advantage.
after work.
taking advantage of what the season gives you. And with baiting, I think like the last thing I would say on that is there's not a too early. Like going in and getting yourself set up, like I don't think there's really a too early.
No, I don't think so either. Like, I don't think you're wrong if you put it in early. Now, I'll tell you, it's a lot bigger of a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot of work to come with that. But I think having yourself in a position where you go in, like I don't necessarily think there's a too early, because the worst case is you have longevity of like that animal or group of animals that start out early have somewhere reliable. So
Well, even when I threw that barrel out, like walking in the very first time, I cut a bear track
yeah,
within 200 yards of where I ended up placing the barrel. And I think maybe that's why I was so confident that they were going to hit it that early.
yeah, and so like in saying like it's not a bad thing to be early there, I caveat that into like spot stalking. Like there's not really a too early. Like you're not going to see necessarily the same number of bear in the same area. But what I did see with working on like going out every day after work, driving home, I had spots I like to check, really good areas that you'd see bears if they were going to be out. And the biggest thing with that is like starting early and starting to see like where these animals want to come out. Once they break snow, get out of their den and they want to start moving, generally you're going to see a lot of black bears mid-range on the mountainside. Like they're not coming out of their den and just diving down into the sticks.
No.
And they're not running across the top of the snowpack still, working their way to the very top of the mountain. And the cool part is finding those chutes and cuts and some of the barren stuff that allows early grass out, easier movement for them. Like you can kind of work that where you start catching them. And a lot of black bear, probably 80% at least of what I've seen trying to go out and like spawn stock is in more of those barren chute, rockier terrain areas, which downside, you got to get to them. But it's generally pretty reliable when you find good grassy slopes with those open faces and that breakup starts. Like you'll start seeing them kind of pop out and work across that terrain more. So that's kind of what I was doing as it went on. Wasn't super productive through mid-May. It was still real slow seeing any good bear movement around. But
I remember you sending me those videos of that Sal Grizz and her 2 cubs working that one hill.
Yeah, and I mean
Not
there was a decent bit of snow on top still, so like they're kind of right below that snowpack, just below snowpack line, but high enough that like you can see them. And yeah, they just kind of work laterally across a lot of those faces. So, there's a way to go about it and just spending time. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot more time. You got to sit down and glass and really pick stuff apart. And I had a running joke for a while when I first got up here with a couple buddies that I knew who were out hunting. They say Alaska is on average 1 bear per square mile. And I would always tell them there ain't a damn bear in this state, because it was just a lot more of I spent a lot of time looking and not finding, versus once you start figuring out like what area they do like to move around and hang out, you will start finding them. You just got to have like the diligence of really slowing yourself down, glassing, and knowing the area to look. And that helped a lot going into this year. So one of the areas I would check a lot was real good with, even from like the main roadway, you could glass a lot of area and then drive back into some of the cuts in the roads that go off into certain little areas that you could park. And then you'd have, a mile and a half walk if you found something that was, worth going after. And that's kind of the way I stumbled into the one bear I took this year with Spot and Stock, is driving back and I'm, cruising along slow, looking, just trying to find anything abnormal, getting into spots that I could stop, put glass on. That area's got a ton of Dall sheep up high. So like, that's always pretty cool, finding them, just poking around. But I had seen a lot of sow black bears with cubs. So I was like, all right, there's definitely bears in this area. Obviously, like, they're not having cubs without boars being around.
Yeah.
And I'm not against taking a sow, but I'm not obviously going to take a sow with cubs. One, not legal. Two, I'm not going to waste my time even trying to chase up after something if I'm not sure if it's alone or not. So spent a lot of time seeing a lot of sows with cubs working, and finally kind of got back in this area. And there was a few days where I had seen, what I was very confident was a boar, but they're in rough spots. Some of them are just like, I'm not getting in and up there on a 4 or 5 hour notice of time available. So
if you're lucky, you got 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah. So a lot of that was like a little bit of opportunistic spot and stalking, but so I kind of kept with it, grinded out, going back in there day after day and looking and glassing, and ended up being right at, I think, like 2 days before that area closed for black bear.
Yeah. It was like right on the
was either 2 days or the day before. And
might have been the day before.
I think it was the day before. Drive back in there, get into this big like snow machining parking area for the wintertime, and just park the truck, pull out the tripod, threw glass up, and start picking apart the hillside. And what was funny is I was really dedicated into looking into areas that I was confident I would find bears. And a lot of those spots were a little further in, which I was fine with. But the closest hillside that was like the easiest spot to get to, boom.
Really?
Just right above timberline, right in the open, clear as day, black dot, like without even needing glass. And it almost took me by surprise because I was like so committed to spending the next hour trying to pick the stuff apart that 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, shit, there's a bear. Pulled binos out, didn't even worry about the spotter. And I was like, yep, that's a bear. Okay. Gave it about 5 minutes, really picking it apart, looking for any cubs, anything else running around that area. And sure as shit, I was like, that is a lone bear working the hillside. Like, very confident that I can get up to that in probably 30, 40 minutes. Like, not a bad walk. And
how much elevation did you have to gain on that?
Oh, it wasn't a ton. I want to say it was 500 to 800 feet.
That's not too bad.
Not terrible.
It'd be worse around here.
Yeah, definitely could be worse. But ended up being a sow. She was on her own, and she was really just like content in the spot she was. From the time that I spotted her, I knew I was going to lose eyes on her for maybe up to an hour trying to get to where I wanted to go. And so I quickly threw a pin on Onyx as like, hey, this is my reference point. This is where I'm going to work to. I wish I would have taken another second or two, because turned out there's actually a really easy like foot trail. I don't know if it was supposed to be a hiking trail or just a very...
Could you see it, or was it only on Onyx?
It wasn't even on Onyx.
Oh.
I don't know if it was an actual like pedestrian hiking trail or just a super used game trail, because it kind of looked like it was a beat down game trail that was almost big enough to be a pedestrian hiker's trail. Regardless, I cut across it about halfway to her, and I was like, damn, where does this come from and where does this go? Yeah, it turns out that thing literally goes like almost all the way back to where I started. So that would have been a big time saver.
I know.
Yeah. The hardest part about that whole thing is you're trying to get elevation on an animal that already has an advantage on you. And I'm going through, the thickest just crap down in the basins. And you have what's called Devil's Club up here. And it's, think of walking through cattails, but with thorns like you wouldn't believe. They suck. And the basin that I was getting through was literally thicker than all get out with alder and spruce, and then Devil's Club just intertwining everything. So not only am I trying to get through this because it's a pain in the ass, but I'm also trying to be quiet and not get pissed off that I'm getting stabbed all over. So I finally get through all of that, and I tell myself, okay, like I am not going to have a chance shooting uphill at this bear with the amount of noise I just had, and I need to get around the corner. She was kind of on a face that had about a 60-degree turn onto another face leading up a drainage. So she was kind of at the head of the drainage, but around the corner. Mm-hmm. So I decided I'm going to work up towards the drainage as soon as I get through some of this thicker crap, elevate myself as far above her as I can. And it was a very predominant tree line. And above the tree line, it was nothing but clear. Below it, there were spots where it was open, and she's out in one of those openings last I had seen. So I kind of picked my way across. And then, I mean, granted, everything takes longer than you expect on the get-go. I was pretty confident, like 45 minutes. Well, about an hour and a half later, I kind of get peaked out, if you will, above where I wanted to be. And I go, okay, cool. Pull Onyx out, look again. Where was my reference point? Where am I going to pick through? I had to really be patient about how I worked across because it's a really shale face with low brush covering it. So it's not the best footing, but it was also noisy if you're not slow and methodical.
Yeah, is it like that scree?
Yeah, it's kind of like scree, but it's scree with like some low brush and some lichen.
Like cover over it and stuff.
Yeah, so like you feel like you're
like let loose.
Some of it would. So like that's where you feel like you're moving quickly, but if you go too quick, you're going to break some of that shale out, and it can be noisy.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like you're in sheep country, but not as high. And so I'm working across it, and I had to at one point basically decide, all right, I need to drop down and get basically online with her, but where am I going through on these trees? Because I don't want to go through thicker spruce and bang around it, but I also don't want to drop in too early and then have to like climb again. Mm-hmm. So I really sat down and picked apart on Onyx like what it had showed and what I'm looking at in front of me. And I finally decided like there's this one little cut, and there was again like a game trail through it. And so I kind of worked and peeked my way around, and I could see like this opens up, and this should be the next opening that she was feeding on the far side of. And I was like, oh, this money, like dive through that, come down. I'm thinking she's going to be another 80 yards around this corner. Like that's right where it had started to turn on the slope. I'm going to stay at this tree line. So she looks up. Hopefully I got some contrast behind me, breaking my silhouette. And dude, as soon as I get into that opening and I start looking at like wanting to work to those trees and work across, I was just recovering, breathing pretty normal again. I had my pack on still. I had a GoPro sticking out of my pack on like a pole, like the GoPro pole. Or actually, no, it was my other camera. I didn't even have the GoPro up there. I had the GoPro on my head, I think. And so I was like, okay, like everything should be good. And in my head, I was like, maybe I should turn it on now so I don't even have to worry about it. And as soon as I think about like reach up and do that, I hear a little snap and crackle. And I was like,
snap, crackle, pop, Rice
yeah.
Krispies.
And I look down, and below me, there's a single spruce with this big fluffy bush next to it, whatever it was. I don't know if it's some oak or something, but a nice fluffy bush at the bottom of it. And I see a little bit of movement, and I was like, there ain't no way that she came this far over already. Like, I was pretty confident she was a good 80, 100 yards on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Granted, like I said, it'd probably been about an hour since I had seen her.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, I see black fur crest behind this bush, and I go, oh, didn't even get time to reach up and turn that camera on.
How far is this? How far is this from you?
Well, that's when I grabbed my rangefinder, and I was like, how far is that? Because it was a good slope below me. Range the spruce, which is the biggest and best thing I could range, and that was 26 yards. So I was like, well, I'm not moving. Like, I'm going to settle. And I was like, I'm not even taking my pack off. Like at this point, like I'm making as little movement as possible.
You're in the zone.
Oh yeah. Knock an arrow, range that tree again, 26. I was like, all right. I see that bush, and I start noticing like that bush is not just next to it. It's actually a little ways in front of it. So I try to range the bush. I was having a hard time getting a range because it was so close to like the skyline of the hill that I'm looking down that I was getting misreads from like 80 something, which is obviously casting over, to 18. And I was like, it's got to be 18. Like that's the best reading I'm getting without hitting the ground. And I watch her come around that. And then there's one last baby spruce, probably a 3 foot tall spruce. So I hit that as best I can. But as soon as I go to range that, I see her outlined right behind it, and I get a clear boom, like right on the money, 8 yards. I was like,
8 yards?
8 yards.
Yeah, like it was literally
What?
about half the distance from that bigger spruce.
So she had moved at this point.
Oh, she was walking the whole time.
Okay, so the 26 was while she was still out there, but she walked that entire time while you're trying to figure it out.
So the whole time I'm ranging that,
I was
I
gonna say,
see the
'cause
one bush,
'cause-
and it wasn't from like the angle I'm looking at. They almost all looked in line, but as I'm looking down, it's hard to tell. Like they're not directly in line across. Is what I'm looking at that angle. It was actually spruce, upslope, bush, upslope, baby spruce, and she had just curled around all of them.
Yeah.
And by the time that she cleared that baby spruce and I got 8 yards, she stopped and was just parallel to that baby spruce and was literally like working her way directly uphill. And I was like, well, I don't want to take a frontal. So I'm like, what do I need to do? Do I maybe make a little sound so she picks her head up and looks or maybe turns or something? And at that moment, I had already knocked an arrow, releases on, like looking, put my rangefinder away because I knew that small spruce was more than close.
Yeah.
And she goes completely broadside and stares at the birch. The next line of trees is all birch. She just stares into it. I don't know if she wanted to walk over there or she's deciding if she's coming uphill. Completely broadside, looks straight across, and I was like, I'm not even gonna.
Still like 8 yards ish.
Yeah, 8 yards. Not even gonna take a second to like.
I wouldn't even have aimed.
Oh,
Instinctive shooting.
it damn near was. Well, and it was funny you say that. I usually always walk with my sight set because I have a 3-pin. I got the UV slider, so it's a 3-pin horizontal is what I run on it. And so my middle pin's my home pin.
Yep.
And I usually will always set that at 30 because my top pin's 20, bottom pin's 40 at that point. And that way, most archery shots I've ever encountered are probably 20 or more yards.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sitting in a stand like a whitetail guy all the time. Generally, it's going to be 20 or
That's
more.
further.
Yeah. And so I looked, and as soon as I was like, I need to draw, I look at my sight and I was like, oh, like 9 and 20, big difference at this angle. So I reach up real quick, bomb it to the top because I know if I max it out and zero it at the top, my center pin is going to sit right at like 15 yards. And so I was like, cool, I'm putting my
So your center pin's at 15. What do you think your top pin's at?
probably 6,
6-ish.
like at that distance. Like,
just split the pins?
Yep.
Did you split?
so I literally put my home pin right at the bottom of her silhouette. Top pin's basically on the shoulder, top of the back, right? Like top of that shoulder at the back. And I was like, this thing's going to land anywhere in between there is going to be fine at this distance. Totally confident in it. That was the first hunt that I took these Sever hybrids. There's Sever had just brought out the hybrid 2.5. So it's a titanium ferrule. Technically it's a 4-blade because you have 2 bleeder blades that are fixed, which makes it the hybrid. And then you have a 2.5-inch main blade. And that was kind of like, I'm going to test these out and run these and see what I can do with them. So sight on, draw back. She still doesn't even flinch, doesn't look uphill. I know the wind's good because I can feel it beat in my face. Not hard, but it's a steady breeze.
Yeah.
She's looking straight across, set that thing up, and just clip it. And that's like one of the only times I've actually had Luminox on because normally I don't use Luminox. And I just watched a little red Luminox whoosh, straight through her. Yeah. And I mean, it hit with authority. It was a thwap and a half. And I felt like everything played out great. Felt like it was a good shot. And instantly my forethought, especially with bear, is get another arrow.
Yep.
Like just be ready.
Get ready.
So strip an arrow out of the quiver, put it on as fast as I can. I couldn't even get that thing seated before I start hearing just groans, dude. And I'm looking at her the whole time. I had seen her look like she was kind of running, but it was actually her rolling.
Oh.
I just, from that angle, it was a little
you
weird.
can't tell. It's just a ball.
Yeah. 3 yards.
She went 3 yards.
She went 3 yards.
So she rolled once.
She flopped over, rolled once. I went down because I could hear her moan. I went down, and everybody's got their own way with bow hunting. Take it for what it is. I am a huge Cameron Hanes fan. I'm very much on board with his ideology of I like to be with an animal as soon as I can. If they're not expired, like it's not going to scare me off from being there. Knowing that she was done, like that amount of grown that fast. I got down there and she was still on her last little couple breaths, but she from the spot that she was standing to where she was laying stuck against a pretty good size birch was 3 yards. And I ended up finding the arrow was almost parallel to her because of that angle, and ended up finding it right off the bat. So yeah, it was super rewarding to like actually go up and spot and stalk a bear in that manner. That was the first black bear that I've done like a true solo spot and stalk on, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I had taken one other black bear the year prior going up to the North Slope. A lot more of an opportunistic, like, hey, there's a bear right over here as we're hitting the highway.
I got a tag.
Yeah, I got a tag. And so like that was a cool bear. He was a lot bigger, was a lot further of a shot, and had its own reward. Like I was super pumped with it, but I didn't spend an hour going.
That was
up
your
after
first
it.
bear, right?
That was, yeah. He's at the house. That's the one that's the rug at the house now. But super rewarding. You know, not the biggest bear, but I was super pumped with myself, and ended up, you know, getting down, cleaning her, packing, and that was, I mean, those severs, dude, absolutely devastating. It was.
It's crazy how like sometimes it's just the experience and like how it gets you going and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just never know. Like that mule deer over there, like that was my first mule deer, and I was losing my stuff.
Yeah, dude.
When that one came together, because it was just the series of events on that mule deer were so crazy, and it had been like 5 years since I had started chasing mule deer, and that was the first one I killed. I remember losing my crap.
Yeah, and I'm such a huge fan of spot and stalk, and anything that's like alpine-esque. I just love climbing up and like being in their element, dude.
Yeah.
It's like that one was so rewarding. Getting her cleaned up, I was very confident in the shot, and then it was like such a good reinforcement. So it was a perfect double lung. Actually got the top back of her heart was just filleted open. That sever did some work, boy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean she was done real quick. So that was super cool. I'm excited for like that balance, dude, because we go down there and we start doing barrels and stuff again. But the cool part about like where we're going and like where we have that station is there's so many opportunities on the drive.
Oh,
with
on the drive.
such good country that we might go down this year and be like, oh, we got bears on camera. Well, that don't mean we're not going to find one.
That's what's crazy about that is every time we drive down there, and I love when I don't drive, when I'm the passenger and we're going down to that station, because there's so many cool cliffs, and the whole time I'm binos out checking the hillsides because there's so many places that I'm like, oh, I wish there was a bear.
Oh yeah.
And like the one time when Vaughn and I were going down to Kenai in order to we were fishing, this was, you know, midsummer or whatever, but like we spotted a grizz like coming through Stevens Pass, like I think it's Stevens Pass, right there.
Yeah.
Right there through Stevens Pass, sow with 2 cubs. And I missed it. Vaughn's like, dude, there's a bear right there. And I'm like, where? And I'm like, we're in the trees. Damn it. But like there's so many berry areas down there, and like the grizzly population on the peninsula is exploding.
Oh yeah.
Weren't we talking about like one of your buddies who's an outfitter down there? Like the amount of grizzlies they shot last year is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, and I believe it too, because we only had one station on the whole peninsula last year, and we had tons of different grizzlies. At least 7 different grizzlies coming into that one station.
And that's us working one station last spring.
Yeah.
So like between the 4 of us this year, even if we did one apiece, having 4 sites to go to.
Even if we just had 2.
Oh yeah.
If we just had 2 stations that came out solid, it's a lot of bears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of. We're very fortunate because like our crew is like willing to get creative with access.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no doubt about that. When we talk about the moose or anything like that, like that was all aluminum canoe.
Yep.
Like canoeing all the time, and like we're very open to that kind of stuff. Like getting creative with access, and dude, I don't care if I have to jump on a mountain bike. Like,
well, it's the
we'll do whatever
willingness
we
of
gotta
like
do.
it's the time old tale, right? Like your weekend warriors, your dudes in the lower 48. Not to hate on them, but
I was one of those dudes.
hey, I'm a weekend warrior, you know, like, hey, I spend 11 months of the year watching hunting, and then for 2 weekends in September, I spend time out looking for elk, and that's my go-to. Like,
Yeah, dude, but even beyond that, like if you look at like the rifle hunting whitetail population,
yeah,
that's only 2 weeks too. But like it's in November, same kind of thing. But like I have more respect for those dudes that are 2 week elk hunters than the guys that are 2 week whitetail hunters.
well, yeah, but
Because at
I
least
mean,
they like get ready to
Yeah.
go into the country.
my point to it is like Brett's getting into it this year, but between you, me, And then like Vaughn, it'll even be a big pickup for Vaughn, but like especially you and me understanding like, dude, archery, like that prep starts now.
I know. That's what we were talking about earlier. Like, we need to start shooting indoor.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to start, like, you know, I call it Vegas, but I'm ready to start shooting three target.
Yeah, like
Vegas,
3-spot Vegas shoots, like refining indoor skills through the winter, and then like getting out and start working like 3D, long range, different things, kneeling, standing. Dude, even sprinting up and down a range and then trying to get a shot off while you're still petering and panting. So like that's a big part of it. But then like you were saying, like the creativity, like the 4 of us, dude, none of us are afraid to be like, all right, we're taking a canoe, we're taking a kayak, we're walking in.
Where do we got to go?
We'll
How far?
freaking hang glide off this little ridge to get down to the spot that nobody wants to go to. So like
rappel, it's cool.
Yeah,
I got
dude.
lots of rope work in my past, so like that's like ascenders, belay, like whatever you got to do, like rappel down in there. I'll do it, whatever.
And we had talked about it once before. I don't remember if it was in the intro one or not, but I know we've talked about it in our attempts of other podcast filming here. That's been like the biggest turnoff of guys who have asked me, hey, can I go out? Can I come? Can you teach me? Is like, I don't just jump on a 4-wheeler and ride in and then like make a bougie camp. Like I don't go glamping. So if you're coming,
it's not gonna
like,
be fun. Like it will be secondary fun.
It's
What
not
they call
going to be
secondary
fun. Yeah, it's not going to be fun in the aspect that a lot of guys want to have. It's the work is the work, and then the fun comes from looking at it and going, damn, like that was hard, but that was good.
Secondary fun. Like it's not fun in the moment, but it's memorable and it's something you'll always reflect on.
Yeah, for sure.
All that, like, you know, not first fun, but like secondary fun is like if you jump on a roller coaster, clearly you're never going to think about it again when you get off. Like that would be like primary fun and stuff, but secondary fun is like, it sucks when you're doing it.
The instant gratification is not always there.
Some would say it's called delayed.
Oh, very much so.
But,
yeah.
I mean,
But no, like, God, man, we went and grabbed tacos before, and we came back, and I'm sitting there just giggling. I'm like, dude, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, get off the fucking mic and let's go hunt, dude.
we're not all that far away.
No, not at
like,
all.
Especially because bear season starts April 15th. Like, dude, we're what,
2 months out? Yeah.
2.5 months out. So like theoretically, the nice part about baiting season, you don't really have to take very long shots.
No.
So like, you know, you could be okay starting shooting in like a month out. It's pretty easy to get your 20 dialed and be confident.
If
but
you're a bum.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, even last minute prep with the bow is like pretty doable, but it is time. It's time to start ramping up. And basically, we're coming out of summer break.
Yeah.
As far as school.
Yeah.
Like, if you put it in a school reference, like, hey, vacation's over. It's time to start ramping up. And I'm fortunate that I just got hired for a new job that's going to allow me to camp like all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty
Congrats
much.
about that one. Big moves.
Appreciate it. So I'm going to get to spend a lot more time in the woods. So I'm extra excited going into this year because I'm probably going to get to camp like 2 to 3 times a week.
Call it refining your craft
as
a professional.
Yes. That's what we would call it. I'm just getting to do what I already do, but more.
Get paid to do it a little more often.
Yeah. That's what I really want it to be too, is like basically I'm just camping with the boys all the time. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching or sticking around to the end of this one. I don't even know how long it's been.
I don't know.
This camera doesn't tell us either, but
yeah, no, seriously, thanks for support if you made it this far. Like we do this because we love it, but we also do it because we want to share different things, knowledge, adventures, and stuff. And having people support us is really what makes or breaks, you know, how long we can kind of keep pushing stuff out. So thank you very much for being here and spending some time with us. If you've made it this far, don't forget today's sponsor, Cookwater. If you are going to like, subscribe, and leave a comment in this video, hashtag Cookwater, and we'll send you a hat and some stickers. So there's a little incentive if you've made it this far. Keep the tradition going on that one. And thanks for being here. We'll have Vinny Vaughn and Brett back for the next one.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into some other things from maybe 2025 or...
Yeah, we got lots of hunts to talk about.
We got stuff to still go over.
We could literally spend a whole episode talking about your archery season.
Oh, yeah.
Like your competition archery season.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
And that's,
we're
that's
about to
just one
start
thing.
that back up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're about back in that season. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody. We will catch you on the next one. Stay tuned for episode 2. We'll see ya.